Hey Sub2ers, this is William Tingle from Sub2Deals.com. Today's topic is lead tracking. What is lead tracking? Why do we do it? How do we do it? Why it's important to do it. Lead tracking is the topic today on the Sub2Deals Show.
Are you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub2 Deals Show with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle.
Hey Sub2ers, our topic today is lead tracking. What is lead tracking? Well, if you've been an investor for any length of time, and really even if you haven't, you should already know at this point that lead generation is really what keeps you in business. You know, having a steady stream of calls from motivated sellers that need to sell their house, that's what makes the money. And so, well, what do we do to get the calls? Well, we have lead sources. And what are those? Well, it really depends. Hey, if you're a bandit sign person, you love putting the signs out, they generate a lot of calls. I've done that for years and still do it. Maybe you're a card or letter person. Maybe you like to put out 1 million business cards. Maybe you run ads in the paper. Whatever your lead generation thing is, that is lead generation. And that's what we're going to be tracking. When you put out a bandit sign, you'll have a designated telephone number. When you're running an ad in a paper, you'll have a designated telephone number. And all of those things will funnel to some type of software that'll generate a report for you and let you know exactly where every phone call comes from. And that's called lead tracking. You know, I operated for the first 10 years as an investor. My way of lead tracking was to ask the people that called, hey, how did you find us? They may have said, well, I saw your signs on your magnetics on your truck, or I saw your bandit signs, or what have you. And we'd record that. It's not a very good way to do it. It's not very accurate, I would guess. It's hard to keep up with that sort of stuff. But several years ago, when I started investing remotely and buying houses in several different markets, it became very important for me to know what was generating the leads, where they were coming from, and that sort of thing. So that's really when I got started tracking. And there are several services you can use. All it takes is a Google search, and you'll turn up dozens and dozens of different companies that can do this sort of thing for you. They'll sell you phone numbers. They will charge you per minute to utilize their service. And a lot of them have a lot of extras too. You know, most of them will record the calls if that's something that you want. And that's a really handy thing, especially if you're using VAs or some type of service to answer those calls for you, because then you can sort of monitor, you know, the scripts that they're using, if they're using yours or their own, whatever the case may be. You can monitor those to make sure that they're getting the information that you want, you know, and representing your company in a manner that you want to be represented in. So those are some other things they do. Also, most of these services will do mass text for you if that's the kind of thing you like to do. All kinds of services, and the prices really vary. So you really need to check those things out. Some of them are as much as $10 a piece per month for the numbers, and then some are only a couple of dollars a month. Some people charge a lot more per minute for the service than others do. So all of those all of those factors will come into play, and depending what you want to do, you know, would decide which service that you wanted to use. Now, I use a service called Twilio, where I purchase my numbers. They're $1 a piece per month, and the toll-free numbers I think are $2 a piece. But just a tip for you: I don't know how many markets you may be working in. Maybe you're just working locally. Maybe you have 2 or 3 different markets that you're buying and selling in. Get the local numbers, because I have found local numbers work best for most people. People just feel more comfortable dealing with someone that they think is local. You may be 1,000 miles away, but they don't necessarily have to know that. So you can purchase the local numbers, and that'll work out a lot better for you, I believe. But call tracking, lead tracking will allow you to really focus and fine tune. You know, if you're spending $300 a month on a major newspaper ad, and you find through 2 or 3 months of tracking this thing that it's only generating a couple of calls a month, and it's not really doing much for you, well, hey, you may want to send that money over to the bandit sign budget where they're generating, dozens of calls for you. It just really lets you do that. So I think lead tracking is very important. There's absolutely no way you could do it. You could not use it in multiple markets. An old saying says anything that is measured will be improved. So, and I certainly think this is a case where that certainly applies. So if you have any questions about lead tracking, come on over to sub2deals.com or to our Facebook page at Sub2Deals and ask away. I'll be glad to share any information that I may have. I mentioned Twilio earlier. That's the service that I use. I actually use it in conjunction with a software program that I purchased several years ago that I don't believe is any longer available. But Twilio has an API that, in my understanding, is very simple to use. Some of you guys that are a little more tech than I may be able to utilize that, or perhaps hire someone to put something together for you. The cost for this would be very low. Even with the numbers that we purchase and the minutes, I don't think we pay over $50 a month for our total lead tracking. So it's something that's very affordable. It's very simple to set up. You can record all of your calls. And I think it's a great thing. So again, if you have any questions about that, just bring them to sub2deals.com and I'll be glad to answer those for you. So you guys get out there and buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub2 Deals Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com, on Facebook at Sub2Deals. We'll catch you next time.